Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where today I'm going to do a disassembly on this CYMA CM.028. So a quick note on safety: if I'm unboxing, shooting down range, doing disassemblies, I always make sure I'm nice and safe. So I've always got eye protection on just in case something happens. Make sure mags are out and empty, and obviously unless I'm doing the shooting. Obviously that's using chrono, and make sure that there's no ammunition left in anything as well. So make sure you're doing the same. Hi guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this video today or find it useful, please do give me a like or a subscribe. If you've got any questions, drop me a comment. You'll be really helping me out. So, as a point of safety, just to make a note, I'm doing this in a safe environment. I've got my eye protection on, I've got the battery out of the gun, I've made sure it's unloaded so there's no ammunition in it, and I've made sure that there's nobody around at the minute so that everybody is safe whilst I'm doing this. So, hopefully you've seen the recent unboxing of this CM.028, and you wanted to come back and have a look at A, what the internals are like, and B, how to just get this thing into pieces. So some of it I'll cover in depth, obviously like the gearbox internals and things, and other bits we'll just kind of leave it as just generic explanation. So this disassembles differently, or it's differently to more modern airsoft AKs. This is what I call sort of like the old traditional Tokyo Marui style disassembly, where basically there's 4 bolts in here, and this front end's basically just going to pull up and out of the front end. So in terms of removing these handguards, if you want to change these over, first thing you're going to have to do is pull on this rod and slide that out, and that gets it out of the way. Next thing you can do is, or you're going to do, is you're going to undo this little screw here, this Phillips head, and this gas block will come forward. We'll do it. We'll go whole hog. So you unscrew it, that comes out, and that then slides forward, and you can remove the handguard and replace that with whatever you want. This obviously is like a weighting system to add weight to it all, so it's not too light or whatever. And then the bottom handguard, move that, is, I'm pretty sure that it does just pull forward, and the bottom handguard just drops away like that. And that is the front assembly dealt with and taken care of. Now obviously what happens is this, you can see this little notch here, that sits in a notch on this bit here, and that keeps it retained back so that that doesn't just easily come out and away. So obviously now if I did want to put real wood handguards on there, it would be quite easy for me to do so with that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop this front end completely out, and I'm going to remove the top cover first. Spin it around, so I just pressed the button in and removed it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this little screw here that's going to release this sort of battery plate, whatever you want to call it. So I've got that little tiny screw out, and I'm just going to slide. As you can see, it's got like a hooking system, so I'm just going to slide it back and then up. And as I'm doing that, I need to tell you what I need to do. I need to release the button first. So push that in. No, it's not grub screwed in. So release the metal bar forward out of the button and out of the way. Then this can come back and up, and this whole assembly comes away. Now, just as a point to note, there is a little spring right there. You can see that little spring there. If you don't keep it down, that spring will suddenly appear on your tabletop that you're working on, and you'll wonder where it's come from. It's there. It helps to push the charging handle assembly back into place. So now we can see the top of the gearbox, and we can see the hop unit. So what I'm going to do is there's the button that's come out of there, which is nice. On the original Maruis, that used to be sort of built into there, and that was a sealed in thing. You couldn't get that button out until you split the gearbox. But CYMA have obviously learnt other lessons and made that a little bit better. So I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to undo these 4 screws here. Now they are different lengths. The 2 at the back are a different length to the 2 at the front. So make sure when you remove these screws, you keep them together, and you know which are the front ones and which are the rear ones, because otherwise you could over tighten them through something and break something. And obviously these are plastic externals, and putting a screw through plastics is not going to end very well. So in fact, you know what, they're actually the same length now. I've proven myself to be a bit of a liar. Never mind. It used to be, in times gone by, those screws were different lengths. But let's pull that forward. I'm going to take that forward very carefully, and I'm going to get it, as you can see there, it's catching on the hop arm. So if I just rest that down, what I might need to do is, if I extend that, I push the hop arm forward again, and I just pushed it in a little bit so it came round. Now, what I will say is, hold those two in, there's little nuts in there, and the same on the other side. So when I start moving this about, those are going to drop out. So you know, if nuts suddenly appear from places, that's where they've come from. So you've got two there, flip it over, you've got two there. And that little spring that we were talking about earlier is right there. So next thing I can do is undo what I'm looking for. Undo those two retaining screws that are on the hop there. So this is a plastic hop unit. I'm going to slide that out, and there's, I believe that stood up, there's one of the nuts come out already, excuse me. So there's a hop assembly. The barrel does need a little bit cleaning, but there's quite a bit of adjustment. Let's see if I can get a shot down there. There's quite a bit of adjustment on that barrel. So now that's out of the way, next thing we've got is to removing the stock and getting the gearbox out of there. And I can see that's reassuring. We've got some blue plastic there, that's good to see. So I'm going to pull the battery plate down. So I just pushed it down, it's friction based, and that comes out of the way. And there's no screws up there, I just have to remove the screws here. Using a Phillips head. Again, make sure you know which screws come from where, just in case they're slightly different in any way, shape or form. I think all three screws are identical, or they used to be. There's the third one. Now this stock should just wiggle and come free, and there it has, come free. Just be careful that you don't tug on the wiring too hard, because you don't want to damage your wiring, and it just feeds out. Now all I actually need to do is just get it out and expose that part there. Disconnect that battery, and they've taped it together. I'm not entirely sure why, but split that tape. So there we go, and the wiring runs back through the stock coming out at this end. So that's basically just a wiring extension going through there. If you want to change this adapter, if it breaks, you just undo the screws here and here. This adapter will come up and out, and you can drop a new adapter in there to fit another stock of that type in. Obviously, if you change into a folding stock, they don't particularly fit on this type of body. You need to get the correct type of folding stock body. So I just removed a Phillips head from the base of the pistol grip. Pistol grip slides off. I'll put those out of the way. I believe it is good. It's the good type. It's got a little cover, which I've literally just pinged across the room. And I'm just going to undo this screw, which is a Phillips head. Now, on this one, it's still a traditional AK selector, but you've got an extra little sort of friction piece in there. So like a washer on top, then the selector comes off, then you've got the traditional little brass tube for the screw to go through, and the little connector there, oops, with the notch in it at the top there that sits with that little notch there. Get those out of the way, and then the gearbox will just simply push up, and whilst I'm pushing it up, I'm going to feed this wiring out through the back here, or up at, actually it's stuck on, there we go. Come on, come on. And there it is, it's released from the receiver. Get that out of the way. So the traditional AK selector then, so that's in the safe at the minute. These teeth all perfectly marry up together, so you know when you're reassembling it, all of those teeth need to, if you move it, through movement, they all need to perfectly match up like that. Flip it over, nice to see they've put the blue components in there. So these teeth as well on the other side, these all marry up nicely. there, so we're really happy with that. So I'm going to lift that off, and that one off, and I'm going to next remove this cam here. So I'm just going to sink my screwdriver into it. And take that through. Now that, when you put it back in, obviously if you drop that in at that side first and match those teeth up, and then this will only go back together in one direction, completing, like you can see there, it's got a part of the shape and another part of there, and then it just screws together to make sure that it's at the right orientation. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this black plastic cover off here. Just going to manipulate it around. Can be a little bit tricky at times to get off. There we go. And last bit before I start removing screws is the top clip here. So I'm just going to get a flathead in there. I'm just going to twist and pry it until it goes past the little notch. You might need to put your screwdriver against the end of it. If it is a little bit stiff, as it is, sometimes you can just nip the end with some flatheads and pull, and there it goes, and it came off. There's some needle nose, not flatheads, needle nose pliers. So I'll lower my camera down and we'll have a little bit better look at the gearbox. So here we are ready to look into the gearbox. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the motor, and this stays attached via the wiring. You can, if you want. If the connectors are not soldered on, you can just pop the connectors off. So the wiring comes down, and the black comes to what would be the right hand side of the gearbox, and the red comes to the left side of the gearbox. But for us in this situation, it's easy to just leave it on for now. Occasionally you will find that some manufacturers actually solder the wires onto the end of the motor terminals. I assume to make sure a better solid connection, and it's not just going to pop off at any point, although it's a rare occurrence that actually happens. Now I'm making sure, and as you can see there is I was going to say there's a slight difference. Those two motor screws are the same length, so I'll put those out of the way, and then I'm just going to remove the remaining 4 screws. Oh, there goes one. So that's a little short screw. Then you've got a medium length screw. You've got a longer screw. And you've got another longer length screw. So what I'm going to do is, as I start splitting this, I'm going to push this in the back here to capture the spring guide and hold it down. Just caught it just before it pinged out. There's the gearbox top, and release that spring. So that's a relatively soft. I assume that Taiwan going to fitted this for me as their downgrade spring. So that is a blue plastic spring guide with a relatively soft spring. It is doing sort of 330, 340 FPS. Let me just check. I happen to have the sheet to hand. Yes, it's just over 330 FPS. So we've got the lovely newer blue plastic in there. I was a little bit worried that it might have been the older style sort of gearbox with the white plastic stuff that could break quite easily. So we've got a lot of these internals are basically, it's identical to one of the budget AKs. So I don't, other than the appearance of it, the plastic is possibly a little bit better quality, but the internals are identical basically, which obviously makes me feel like they're even better quality for the sort of the budget ranges and things like that. So next thing, I'm going to test the air seal. So all I'm going to do is finger over the end, and I'm looking for how far I can push the piston in before I get pressure. So I can push it all the way in. There's no stop. There's a a little bit of pressure against my finger, but at no point can I not, only get in so far. So you've got good air seals if that will only go in so far. But it will freely go in and out. So I know the air seals are not amazing. Obviously, if I put the air nozzle on as well, I'm not going to get any different, and that's more or less to be expected. But the gearbox itself is looking relatively good quality, as you would expect from CYMA now. The gear set is their bog standard gear set. It's nothing special or amazing, but it holds up fairly well in most circumstances. So I'm quite... In one way, I'm impressed that the internals are identical to the budget ones. And this AK, this CM.028, was about £80, a little bit more expensive than the budget one. So internally, it's identical. Externally, I don't know. It feels a little bit better quality. It feels a little bit more rigid, a little bit more solid. But it's based off the old original Tokyo Marui designs. Which is not a bad thing, that's where it's all sort of started from, really. But I feel like the better value is to be found in the cheaper ones, just because the externals are all black. A lot of people, this is going to be a project gun for me, so the shiny silver will be got rid of, and the fake looking wood, although it's not too bad, particularly to distance. That's not too bad, fake looking wood. It's. I think the better value is definitely in the budget range now. The sort of 60, 67, 65, 70 pounds AKs. I want to say 522, but I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head the correct model number. But I hope that's been helpful for you. Please do give a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this or you found it useful, or both. If you've got a question, drop it below and I will do my absolute best to answer it. And I will see you next time. Bye.